Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Wydner Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network, 29 AM and FM stations across the great state of Michigan, with the goal of promoting, encouraging, talking about the history and tradition of the outdoor lifestyle here in the great state of Michigan and occasionally beyond. Been an interesting week since we last talked, hasn't it? Oh, I'm going to do my best this week to stay away from coronavirus, not just physically, but I mean the content of the show as well, as much as I can. You don't need to tune into this show to hear about coronavirus, because Lord knows there's enough out there, and that's all we can hear. So I am going to strive to talk about anything other than coronavirus as much as I possibly can. But it is something that we can't ignore, even in the outdoor world these days. You talk about social distancing. No better way to social distance than hunting or fishing, right? But there have been questions like, well, with the governor's order, can we actually go out hunting and fishing? And of course, if you turn to social media or the internet or Facebook, you're going to find all kinds of experts who know everything about everything, when in reality, they don't know anything about anything. As of right now, as of Wednesday, when we are sitting here in the Outdoor Magazine studio, we record the show a couple of days before you get a chance to hear it, we can still hunt and fish in Michigan. Now, technically, they say we have to abide by all the other guidelines. You have to stay 6 feet from the people next to you. In theory, you would not be allowed to... I'm not even going to say that. Let's just suffice to say that coming up in our second hour, Ed Golder from the DNR, who is their public information officer, is going to join me, and we're going to go through these things point by point. But the overriding point is we can still hunt and fish. And is there a better way to deal with this situation than getting out right now or getting in the woods or getting on the water? I don't think so. What a great way to get away from the media, to get away from the hype, to get away from the concern, to reconnect with Mother Nature, to calm our minds, to get some fresh, clean air in our lungs, have a chance to decompress, to debrief, and just enjoy what's out there. The state boat launches are still open. Well, no, they're not. The launches aren't in. The DNR closed them. No, they didn't. The launches haven't been put in the water in some places yet. The docks haven't been put in the water. It's not that they're closed. The docks weren't in yet. Now, having said that, and I've seen this here on the show the last couple of weeks, things change so fast. I'm making my statements right now based on what I know from the DNR as of Wednesday morning the 25th. The governor could come in and change everything by the time you hear the show. So that's my caveat. This is affecting people who, well, it's affecting everybody, right? It is affecting us in the outdoors, especially a lot of people who make their living in the outdoors. Like Jay's Sporting Goods closed their doors before the governor ordered them to. Temporarily. Dunkin's in Bay City closed their doors temporarily. I don't think, from what I've seen of the governor's executive order, and I read it 3 times, I don't think she has named gun shops as essential businesses. But in Illinois, they did. Now, that was interesting. Illinois, probably the 3rd biggest anti-gun state in the country, named gun shops as essential businesses. I can't find anywhere that says gun shops in Michigan are essential businesses. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. And listen, Jeff Poet will be from Jay's Sporting Goods will be along with us at the end of this hour. Lake St. Clair South River boat launch is closed. I'm doing a Facebook Live right now. I just got that message right now. Is that a state launch or is that a county launch? I'll tell you who this is also affecting: charter captains. You know, you got a boat that's 20 feet long. You want to put 4 guys in it. You can't stay 6 feet from each other. You're touching surfaces. You're touching the boat. You're touching rods. You're touching gear. You're touching baits. And then the next day, another group comes into that same environment, that same situation, the same boat. You can't stay 6 feet from each other. You're touching the same gear, the same rods. As a result, some captains are canceling their trips. Lance Valentine, very, very well-known, very respected walleye fishing charter captain, has canceled all of his Detroit River trips. He said he did it. Well, he didn't say this. I'm saying this. He did it because he has more concern for people than he has for money. He did it because he thought it was the right thing to do. He also stressed that any of his charter captain buddies who decide not to cancel their trips, he supports them completely as well. It's an individual decision. On a related note, but not nearly as serious, I'm still waiting to hear from the Coast Guard on my charter captain's paperwork. And I suspect that it's going to be a long, long time before I hear anything more about this. I submitted the paperwork electronically a week and a half ago. They say in normal times, give them 5 business days to acknowledge receipt. I have come to the conclusion these are not normal times. So I suspect it's going to be a while before they get to my charter captain's paper, my captain's license paperwork. Because I have a feeling the Coast Guard has some other things going on other than worrying about Mike Avery becoming a licensed captain. I just hope that with everything going on, they decide to extend the deadlines. Because I have until like the middle of May to be approved, or I got to go through the whole process again. And I don't want to do that. So I'm hoping they grant us a little bit of a reprieve because I had it into them, but they weren't able to look at it. I did also do something else online that I found incredibly easy. I got a letter from my local county clerk, and she said, by the way, it's your year to renew your CPL, your concealed pistol license. Now, in the past, that has been somewhat of a hassle, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be. If you're going to grant somebody the ability to carry a gun concealed, it should be a big deal, and there should have to be a process, and maybe even jump through some hoops, because that way the people who are serious about it will follow up on it. But now that the state police have control of it, I was able to do it all online, and it was very, very easy. So I appreciate that. Speaking of online things right now, the kids are off school. They're starting to go stir crazy. You're starting to go stir crazy, trying to find ways to keep them occupied. Why not get them involved in an online hunter safety class, hunter education class? A good use of your time right now. If you can't be on the water or in the woods, like I can't be on the water right now because my boat, my Angler Quest, is over at Linwood Beach Marina. If the Angler Quest was in the slip right now, and I can't be because my marina's not open yet, If the Angler Quest was on the water in the slip right now, you can bet that I would be on it out there on Saginaw Bay looking for some walleye. But I can't get to her right yet. What I can do is pick up my recurve bow and get ready for turkey season. I shot the other day. It felt very good. Didn't shoot great, but I will work on it and get my shooting skills honed in time for turkey season. I do think I'm going to use this device I talked about for the last week or so, this clicker. The Hunter's Niche version is called a Cricket. When you come to full draw, it makes a little click, so you know you're at full draw. And I realized from shooting with it the other day that, yes, indeed, I do suffer from not coming to a complete draw. You know how Fred Bear used to shoot, snap shoot? It looked like he'd look at his target, he'd bring the string back. When it hit his nose, boom, he'd let it go. I think I was shooting more that style, but I probably shouldn't have been. So this clicker then, it lets me come back to a full draw. I get it to the corner of my mouth, it clicks, and I can let it go. So I think it's going to work out very well. The goose barricade, by the way, in the backyard is working wonderfully. My ongoing battle with geese. I used to like geese. I don't like them so much anymore. But my goose barricade is working. We got a busy show coming up this week. After the break, Matt Pedigo of the Michigan Wildlife Council talking about the Here for Generations campaign and getting kids involved in the outdoors. Right now, Jerry Wydner from Hunter Safety System, they have a product that is as good as hand sanitizer, and Jeff Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods talking about their temporary shutdown. That's just in hour number 1 of this week's Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Traverse City on WTCM. That's 580 AM. You can hear us in Caro on WKYO, 1360 AM. And north of the bridge in the Sioux, ESPN 1400 WKNW. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Boning Archery. Boning is a Michigan-based company, been in the archery business for almost 75 years, started by a man named Roland Boning. These days, they continue to innovate. They continue to come up with new products. I think of the Blazer vanes that really revolutionized the way we look at how you steer arrows in flight. I like to say they make everything for bows and arrows except bows and arrows, but they really are a very well-respected company. I am so pleased that they are based here in Michigan. Check them out online at boning.com. That's BOHNING.com, boning.com. While you are online, of course, check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. MikeAveryOutdoors.com, the clearinghouse for all things Outdoor Magazine Radio, and me, Mike Avery of Mike Avery Outdoors. Also check out this website, hereformioutdoors.org. Hereformioutdoors.org, the website of the Michigan Wildlife Council, a group that I have been working with since they were formed, basically. When I first heard what these guys were going to do, I said, I need to work with them because they were formed to promote hunting and fishing and trapping here in Michigan and get the word out to the non-hunters and anglers and trappers about what we do and why it is so critical. Matt Pedigo is a member of that group, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Matt, welcome back. How you doing?
Great. Thanks, Mike, for having me.
Hey, listen, always a pleasure. I hope you're healthy. I hope everything's going well in your world as well as we can expect these days.
Yeah, things are going good. Likewise, I hope you're doing good, too.
Absolutely.
It's strange times.
Hey, listen, has it slowed down you guys with the council? I mean, you can't meet in person right now. Can you still get your work done, email, electronically, video conferencing? You got all that stuff covered?
Oh, yeah, the council's moving right along between council's resources and email and being able to communicate that way. We're being able to accomplish everything we need to do. And fortunately, what's happening this week is we have our focus groups, which about, I think last year or the year before, we moved to an online focus group, online bulletin board, where we're able to test all of our messaging with our core audiences. So given that, we I guess, pretty fortunate that we're able to do that, and we're able to still do that. We're actually expecting a better response rate because people should have more time to be able to follow up and be able to participate.
Yeah.
So we're still moving along. We are trying to pivot some of our advertising we got going on right now on our outdoor bulletin boards or outdoor billboards. Those aren't too effective at the moment, given the restrictions in travel. So there's a big effort we're looking at right now, trying to move those more towards TV type ads and the different streaming services that are available.
I would suggest radio too.
Radio for sure. We've already got radio covered really well. Radio is something that never goes out of style.
Thank you for saying that. You just redeemed yourself, Matt.
I didn't mean to leave that out. I figured it was assumed that we keep radio up at our top spot.
I appreciate that. Charlie Root here in the studio with me, a radio guy, gave me a look like, hey, don't forget the radio guy. So I figured I better bring that up. Also, too, didn't you guys didn't you make a presentation to the Senate or some legislators recently as well?
We did. So we've been communicating a lot with our legislature and interested concerned sportsmen's groups. And we got invited to a Senate subcommittee hearing for the Senate Appropriations Committee with Senator John Bumstead, who chairs that, who is also the senator who spearheaded the original legislation that created the Wildlife Council. So he definitely has a vested interest in what we're doing, and he invited us to make a presentation. And we were able to tell them, some of the successes we've had where we've been able to move the needle, so to speak, in terms of educating the general public about the benefits of wildlife conservation, hunting, fishing, trapping in the state. So it was a great opportunity for us to highlight to the legislature what we're able to do and what we've been doing and what we're going to continue to do.
And I'm sure one of the questions they asked is, Matt, do you have any proof, any evidence that what you guys are doing is effective? But I know working with good marketing that you've got the stats. I mean, you've got the information to back it up that you're making an impact.
Correct. Yeah, we've spent a lot of time since the inception of the council originally, making sure that we can measure what we're able to accomplish. And recently we've dug even deeper into that, and we're looking at modifying some of our approaches to make sure that we do get the very best data to support what we are doing. One of the big things we can show that we've been able to move the needle is from 2015 to 2019, one of our core questions we ask is that wildlife does not require management by humans to thrive. And it's a agree, disagree type question, with disagreement being the correct answer, that wildlife does require management by humans to thrive. We've seen the disagreement on that question in our statewide survey go from a 39% disagreement in 2015 to a 50% disagreement in 2019. So 11% change in a statewide survey, to me, is definitely one major point to make, that we are educating the sportsmen about how important it is that wildlife management exists and what wildlife management is, and core to that, again, is hunting, fishing, trapping activities.
Well, and as we've talked before, too, this is not a short-term effort. This is probably, likely, as long as funding holds up, a long-term commitment.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we're constantly having to educate, young people as they grow older and they get into the demographics we're targeting, the 18 to 34-year-olds. They tend to be less educated than older people in the 50-plus demographics. So we're constantly having to educate them on the fundamentals. But also we want to continue to make progression in our messaging and get more direct hunting, fishing, trapping-related messages out there so that people really can understand what these activities are and connect them directly to what it is that they're doing and how it benefits them themselves, even if they don't participate in the sport.
Matt, you and I were talking the other day, too, off the air, obviously, about a couple of other topics. The importance, and maybe this is a good time to concentrate on getting our young people involved in the outdoors. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, one of the other ideas I've had, and this is outside of the Wildlife Council, through my activities with different bear hunting groups, Michigan Bear Hunters Association, UP Bear Houndsmen, Michigan Hunting Dog Federation, but there's definitely a trend where we're seeing less licenses sold, less younger people participating in hunting and fishing. And in bear hunting, there's a unique opportunity where the state offers a lottery system. If somebody receives a tag, they can transfer it to a youth hunter, which some data that the DNR has provided, that accounts for about 50% of the 400 youth hunters from 12 to 17 in the state. But what we do see is a big opportunity in that there's about 1,500 licenses, bear tags, that are awarded to sportsmen that go unsold. So we essentially know that they weren't used because they were never purchased. And we think there's an opportunity there to get those licenses into the hands of youth hunters. And I think fundamentally it's just a matter of educating people and youth that want to go bear hunting. I'm sure there's more than 400 kids in the state that want to go bear hunting. But with the preference point system, if you're younger, you have less time to accumulate points. So there's one drawback. But with these 1,500 licenses spread out through the different bear management units in the state, we can try and get those tags into the youth hunters' hands if those people that were awarded them aren't going to use them. So there's an interesting opportunity here that we think with some effort we can definitely improve the number of youth hunters bear hunting in the state.
I am really hung up on the number of 1,500 tags go left unsold. I mean, there's so many of us who are just, we can't wait to get our next Michigan bear tag, and to think that 1,500 of them are let out and nobody claims those things. I'm quite surprised by that, Matt.
It is really surprising, too, and I didn't realize it was so high until I started looking at some of the bear hunter surveys that were provided. And there could be a ton of reasons for that. And even through this program, we might see that number go down, because I think there could be a portion of those that people receive the tag and the state no longer does the postcard. So by being able to alert these people that they have this tag, they might be like, oh, I didn't even know because I didn't look, or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's probably a lot of reasons why there's this high number of tags that go unsold. Other could just be people's lives change between the time they applied for the tag and the time bear season comes up and they can't go out. I'm sure there's tons of reasons. But through this program, I expect that number would come down, because what I was proposing is that there would be like a partnership between the different bear hunting groups and the state, where we could try and find a way of refunding the postcard system, and at the same time educating people that this opportunity exists. If you still have the tag and you're not going to use it, let's find a way of finding a youth hunter that could be able to use it.
So right now, under the current system, if somebody has gets a bear tag and they're not going to use it, how would they give it back to the system, to the department, to let a kid use it?
Yeah, so the state has a system that they already have. There's a system already set up for it, and I think a big part of it's going to be able to just educate people. But if you go on the state website, under the bear hunting section, there is an area, and I'm trying to look for it here now real quick, but an area where you can submit to the state and say, hey, I have a tag, and I'm willing to give it up if you have somebody that wants a tag, a youth hunter. It also allows to transfer to people with terminally ill diseases too. So there's another benefit there.
Now, if you get a bear tag and you want to let somebody else use it legally, in the system, do you have to have somebody in mind? Do you have to say, I want to grant this to this person, or do you just let the DNR make that decision? Or do you have any say in who gets your tag?
You definitely do. You can do it both ways. So you can if you have a son, a nephew, a friend that wants the tag, you can fill out the paperwork and directly provide it to that person. If you don't have somebody and you still want to make it available, the DNR does have wait lists, so youth hunters can go and be added to this wait list, and if a license comes up, then they'd be eligible to get it. So there's two ways of being able to do it, and both of them are beneficial to youth hunting.
Well, Matt, listen, I appreciate you bringing that up. I knew that was out there, but I didn't realize there were so many tags available. And, of course, thanks for the update on the Michigan Wildlife Council. I think you guys are doing a great job. And if we don't get the word out, if you don't get the word out, and we don't help you get the word out to the non-hunters and anglers across our state, we're gonna pay for it in the long run. So I appreciate everything you guys are doing, Matt.
Agree. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the time.
Matt Pedigo of the Michigan Wildlife Council, the website here for MIOutdoors.org, here for MIOutdoors.org. We'll take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, I want to check in with a friend of mine, an old friend of mine. Not that he's old, but he is kind of old. He's older than me. Jerry Wydner of Hunter Safety System. They got into the scent elimination business last fall, and now they found out that one of their products is actually a very, very effective antibacterial sanitizer. So if you can't find hand sanitizer, you can try one of their products. And then Jeff Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods wraps up this first hour of this week's Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK. That's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Supertalk 1570 WWCK. And north of the bridge in Iron Mountain, WMIQ 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Speedy Blaze. Speedy Blaze is a very cool product. It's a safe, clean, water-resistant alternative to firewood, and it's safe to cook over because it's made from recycled hardwood. I just started working with these folks. I'm very impressed with not only the people behind the company, I mean, not just the product, but the people behind the company as well. Great people, Michigan-based, a great product. Check them out, speedyblaze.com. That's speedyblaze.com. Speaking of great people behind great products, I have worked with the folks from Hunter Safety System basically since they started the company. John, Jerry Wydner, their friend, Jim Barta. Guys grew up in southeast Michigan hunting and fishing. Salt of the earth. Great people. They've saved an awful lot of lives with their Hunter Safety System products. Now they find out that one of their ancillary products can also help with this situation we're all dealing with right now. Jerry Wydner with us on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Jerry, always a pleasure. Hope you're well. How are you?
Mike, I'm doing great, thanks. Always so good to talk to you.
It's wonderful to hear your voice. Last fall, Jerry, you guys got into the scent elimination business, and now you find out that some of those products actually have other uses. Tell me about that.
You know, Mike, I'm really excited about this. It's our product called Elimishield, and Elimishield is meant to stop human body odor because we're in the hunting industry. And what we wanted to do is to find something that would literally work. I mean, actually do what it says it's going to do, help you fool a deer's nose, one of the most difficult things to do in the hunting world. Well, this product does exactly that. But more importantly, what we have found out, because of the very nature of what it does, it's helping with the germs and viruses and the bacteria. And in fact, that's how it works, because our body is filled with bacteria, and bacteria is what causes the body odor. So if you kill the bacteria, you in essence have stopped the body odor. You do that, then the deer can't smell you, so it's all a plus. But like you said, Mike, leading into this, it now has a whole new application, a whole new meaning. It's not necessarily hunting season right now, but it is bacteria virus season right now. And with this being available to people, I know sanitation products are hard to come by right now, and our products are flying off the shelf. I don't have a huge supply of it because there's a great demand, but I do want people to be aware of it. And it's called Elimishield, and it works as a molecular level, as a physical kill on the body. It's funny, Mike, when you put this on your body and you saw it through a microscope, you would actually see a bed of nails. They're ion spikes. And those ion spikes actually come in contact with bacteria, which is like a round ball, and it pierces it, which physically kills it. Doesn't poison it. It actually physically kills it, and therefore you have no bacteria, no germ, and no odor.
So I want to make sure I understand this. Because hand sanitizer is in such short supply, I can't find it anywhere, but I do have some Elimishield. Could I use the Elimishield in place of hand sanitizer, and would it be as effective?
Absolutely it is. Yep. It's absolutely as effective. And in fact, it's a little more effective, and I don't want to try to say, listen, ours is better than everybody else's, but here's the difference between it and other hand sanitizers. Hand sanitizers work off of a alcohol-based product, and it does just exactly what it says it's going to do. Companies like Purell, good companies, the products work well. The difference, though, is it works off alcohol. Alcohol poisons the bacteria, but then it's gone. If you put hand sanitation on your hands and it kills the bacteria, but then you turn around and grab that doorknob and open the door, guess what? You've just put that bacteria back on your hands. You'd have to go back and do it again. The difference with this is the long-lasting effect. When you apply that to your skin, those bed of nails that are the active ingredient will continue to stay on your skin and continue to work all day long. So that one application in the morning will last you all day.
That's very exciting, Jerry. I guess the question, maybe even the challenge these days now is, where do we get it? Where do we find it?
Well, you know what? Jay's Sporting Goods carries it. I know they've had a hard time keeping it on the shelf, and it's going fast, so I hope they still have supplies. If not, they can certainly go to our website, which is elimishieldhunt.com.
Ooh, I was going to say huntersafetysystem.com. Elimishield.com.
That's right. Now, they can also go to the Hunter Safety System website, huntersafetysystem.com, and it's on there as well.
Wonderful. Now, you might not know this, Jerry, and I hate to tell you this on the air, but Jay's has temporarily closed their doors.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, but we got we have Jeff Poet from Jay's on following this segment, so we can talk more about that. It's just it's a temporary thing. So when they open their doors back up, hopefully it's at Jay's. If not, you can find it at elimisshieldhunt.com, elimisshieldhunt.com. And if you're looking down the road to the fall hunting season, huntersafetysystem.com as well. Jerry, always a pleasure, and thanks for letting us know about this. You guys continue to come up with some pretty cool products, and I appreciate you letting us know.
Mike, appreciate you. Love you to death, and can't wait to see you again.
All right, I'll look forward to it. Jerry Wydner of the Hunter Safety System. Check out Elimishield, the website elimishieldhunt.com, elimishieldhunt.com, also huntersafetysystem.com. We will take a break. When we come back, Jeff Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods. What a tough decision that must have been. They decided to close their doors temporarily before the governor made her mandate. We'll talk more after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Tawas on WIOS AM and FM, 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. You can hear us in St. Joe on 94.9 WSJM. And you can hear us in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by MUCC's On the Ground program. OTG is a program to improve habitat for fish and wildlife across the state. For details, check out the Michigan United Conservation Club's website, mucc.org. By the way, if you want to save 25% on your MUCC membership, use the promo code MIKE, M-I-K-E, and you can save 25% at mucc.org. I want to turn our attention now to Jeff Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods. You know Jay's Sporting Goods, two outdoor superstores in Clare and Gaylord, fixture, icons in the outdoor industry here in Michigan. Jeff, welcome to the show. I appreciate your time.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me on this morning.
Hey, listen, now you guys have temporarily closed your doors at both stores. Was this a mandate, or did you guys voluntarily do this?
Well, we started out as voluntarily, and then it became mandate on Monday when the executive order to stay in took place. So that's kind of how it rolled out for us.
Now, some, like Illinois, I think, declared gun shops as essential businesses. Was there any sense that that was ever going to happen here in Michigan?
You know, there was a sense. I don't know that would have made a great impact. It might have had, we might have been able to do some things, but in the state of Michigan, it's unclear. We've contacted the ATF and the legal side of what we use for references and how we proceed with specific gun issues. And they also indicated that Michigan is one of those states that, unlike Illinois and a couple others, that deemed firearms stores and ammunition and ranges as essential. So we're in a gray area here in Michigan. It's not defined clearly.
Well, and speaking of gray areas, I hear stories of some sporting goods stores still open.
I would not doubt that.
Huh. When you guys made this decision before the governor made her executive order, mm-hmm. That must have been a tough call.
It was extremely difficult to make, and you know me, Mike. I'm not afraid of a lot of things, and I'm very competitive. You know where I am with my faith. I don't fear things like that, But it did come down to our employees. And there's a great concern. We have cases in both Otsego and Clare County when we ended up making the final decision, first in Otsego County. And I got to see the difference once you have someone in your community that's infected, how it impacts the local people that work for you. So that started to really kind of push that envelope for us to make that decision. And the other part was when we got down to Saturday, which we were running limited hours and limited entrance of number of people that could come in, the NICS system in which we have to get background checks came to almost a grinding halt. We were able to get a few through, but so at that point you could let people in, but you still couldn't transfer a gun to them because the background system was so backlogged. And you could see it as the country came online with, we start out with the Eastern time zone, then Central, Mountain, and Pacific. As those time zones came on and businesses were opening, the NICS system just slowed every step of the way.
When this all resolves itself and we all get back to work and we all open our doors back up again, there's going to be a tremendous backlog. I mean, it's going to be slowed down for a while, isn't it?
I anticipate that. Yeah. I think it's once things, the more normal they get, probably the less desire for those products that are in high demand right now. And, we're willing to work with our customers. If they got in a delay status or they have a layaway, there's just a lot of things that, there's kind of guns in limbo, and their decisions may be different once we get on the other side of this, and we're willing to work with our customers or whatever their personal situation, whether they want it or they don't want it, we're gonna make it work out for them. So,
well, there's we always got to look for some positive news. The positive news right now here in Michigan, we can still hunt and fish, and with people not working, what a better thing to do? What a better way to recharge your mind, your soul, and your body than to get outdoors, get on the water, get in the woods.
Absolutely, and I believe it's encouraged. I think that in the governor's statement, get outside, take a walk, whatever, and to hunt and fish, you've got that distancing. It's a great thing to do, and I would encourage it. And we're just in the beginning of this thing. I think week 3 of this, people are really going to need that, and obviously there's going to be some stuff that we can do that's going to help us be outside in the weather and everything.
Jeff, listen, I appreciate you taking some time out and explaining the situation. We will all get through it, and when the doors open back up, we will be there, and you will have people flocking to your stores and all the other places as well. So,
and we'll be as ready as we can, Mike. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Jeff Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods, the website jayssportinggoods.com. That's jayssportinggoods.com. We will take a break here for the top of the hour. When we come back in hour number 2, let's get a little more lighthearted, and let's talk turkey with Greg Abbas of A-Way Outdoors, some turkey calling techniques. Then we got to jump right back into it. Ed Golder from the DNR. I have some questions for him. He will give us the answers about what we can do, what we can't do. And then Carl Wydner of the Wydner Insurance Group. These people who have had their businesses affected, from charter captains to Jay's Sporting Goods, is there anything they can do from an insurance perspective? That's coming up in hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Wydner Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's show, the Outdoor Magazine show, right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. 29 AM and FM stations across the great state of Michigan. I think we're soon to be 30 stations, by the way. Yeah, Charlie just looked at me. Yeah, I got a little something in the works there, Charlie. I've always got a little something in the works. Glad to have you along with us. Glad to have the opportunity to talk about the outdoors. A lot of other topics going on these days. So let's talk about the outdoors as much as we can. First, though, this is the Outdoor Magazine radio show. It is a radio show. It is designed, produced, recorded, distributed primarily as a radio show. And I think the best way to listen, if you can, is on your local AM or FM station. Now, not all of our affiliates carry all 3 hours of the show, and that's understandable. And there are parts of our state where you can't hear the broadcast version of the show. But if you can, I think listening to your local radio station is the way to go. However, we do have options. Man, do we have options. There's always the podcast version of the show. Podcasting is a huge buzzword these days. I've been podcasting a long, long time. I do podcasts specifically for the Outdoor Magazine Podcast Network, but we also make the radio show available as a podcast as well. Where do you hear that? Well, probably one of the best places to go, in my opinion, would be the website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. MikeAveryOutdoors.com, the online source, the clearinghouse for all things Mike Avery Outdoors and Outdoor Magazine Radio. If you're on Facebook, I also post the podcast to the Mike Avery Outdoors Facebook page. If you're on Twitter, I put it on the Avery Outdoors Twitter feed as well. It's also up on LinkedIn. It's on iTunes. It's on Google Play. You can find it on our mobile app. Yes, we have a free Outdoor Magazine mobile app. You can download it from the Play Store or Google Play or the iTunes Store. We're also on iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Radio.com, and now here's the newest one, YouTube. Yes, the podcast is now available on YouTube. I found a way to do this relatively easily. There's always been a way to do it, but it was such a hassle. Well, I found an easier way to do it, and you can now listen to the show on YouTube as well. Regardless of how you are hearing my voice, I do certainly appreciate it. Thank you for being along with us. Let's talk a little turkey right now. The Michigan turkey season is just around the corner. I am very excited. I will be chasing birds with a Predator recurve bow this year, which I am pretty excited about. Why not make it just a little bit harder, huh? Much of what I know about turkey hunting, and I don't pretend to be an expert in the least, but much of what I know I have learned from Greg Abbas. You know Greg. He's a fixture. He's an icon in the outdoor industry here in Michigan. He's responsible for coming up with many different types of game calls. These days, he's in invention consulting for outdoor-related companies. Used to have a TV show. Used to guide for turkeys. This guy knows turkeys inside and out. And he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Hey, Greg, welcome back to the show. I appreciate your time. I hope everything is well.
Everything is well. Thank you, Mike, and I hope the same on your end.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that you're not guiding and producing TV shows, do you still get excited about turkey season, Greg?
Oh, God, yeah. I still get out there and play with the turkeys. I don't always want to shoot them anymore because then I got to clean them. But no, I enjoy God's creation, whether I'm out there just listening to them or playing with them, calling them, and getting them up close. And I love it.
You bring up an interesting point. Turkey hunting is one of those activities that you can enjoy tremendously without ever pulling the trigger. It's the interaction with the birds that's really the thrill, isn't it?
Well, that's what I've always enjoyed, and that's why I've done all the guiding over the years. I didn't care if I pulled the trigger or not. Bringing that excitement to another hunter was awesome. But to me, I still got to hunt them, without me having to pull the trigger. And to me, the part I enjoy the most, again, is just being out in God's creation and seeing the woods come to life and hearing that gobble and trying to outwit that gobbler and trying to determine how much calling or how little and what to say. And you know how that goes, and that's what I think lures a lot of people to this sport and gets them addicted.
Speaking of calling, of the entire picture of matching wits with a bird, how important is the calling?
Well, it's important, but it's probably, just a third of the equation. I know when people first get into it, they make it a majority part of the equation, but as you do it for many years, you learn to call less and call quiet. But yes, you do want to call, but positioning and woodsmanship are just as important.
But I know why turkey hunters enjoy the calling so much, because it's the response.
It's the interaction.
When you make a call and a bird gobbles back to you, it's absolutely addicting.
It is. I mean, what other sport can you do where birds or animals just talk back to you just about every time you talk to them?
Now, they might not always cooperate, but they're probably likely to answer.
Right. I mean, they're hunting you as much as you're hunting them.
Well, what do you mean by that? That's very interesting.
Well, it's their mating season. So you're giving out this call of a hen turkey telling him, I love you. And he's yelling back, hey, I love you too, babe. And he starts coming a little closer, and he's looking. He don't see her, and, your heart's thumping. You can see him, and you call out again. He gobbles, but, man, he's hunting you. He's looking, and, if you call too much, you call too loud, even though he wants to see that girl, when he doesn't see her and you're calling too loud, and he'll just hang up at a gun range and do that wide circle around you, and off he goes, and he beat you that day. And anybody who's turkey hunted any number of years, it's happened. I
was just thinking I can run through a half a dozen scenarios in my head in recent history, my recent hunts where I've had that happen.
Yep.
Well, if you haven't blown a hunt, you haven't hunted very often, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, turkeys hanging up out of gun range is the most common problem that we as turkey hunters encounter. And a lot of people don't know why. When I give my seminars around the country and I tell them here's what caused it, they go, my God, you're right. I've been calling too much and I've been calling too loud. I've been making both those mistakes. And it's common. It's very common. We call out to our level of hearing, which is much inferior to the turkey. We're acting like we're calling to another human being, calling loud enough for them to hear it. And you're shouting at a turkey if you're doing that.
So this idea of them just hanging up just out of range, call less, call quieter, will that fix that?
Absolutely. You will win or lose that bird at the 100-yard mark. If you're a beginning turkey hunter, you'll call that bird up to 100 yards, no problem. He'll close the distance pretty quick. But when he reaches that 100-yard mark, that's where he puts on the brakes a little bit and he feels he should see that hen. And by lowering your volume, especially if you've got a little push button call with a volume control on it, you can lower the volume. And you could even point the call behind you and make him think that that hen is walking away. So he still thinks he's got 200 yards to go when, in fact, he's only 100 yards from you. And when you make him believe that you're further than you really are, he's closing the distance when you've shot him. He hasn't even thought about slowing down yet.
So if he comes in looking for a hen, though, if you have a hen decoy or some decoys out in front of you, does that satisfy that bird?
In most cases. Now that's something where I spend a lot of time on the subject matter during seminars, because it took me better part of my whole guiding career to learn, and you won't read this in magazines. The direction of the decoy matters, and whether you use hen or jake gobbler definitely matters. And we've all had times where them birds have come into the decoys and they've seen them and then they've taken off, or they've come in and, hey, they fell in love and they strutted around them and you got them. And, there was no consistency. So that's what went on in my mind for about 20 years. How come it's not consistent? And I finally got it figured out for the most part. And it wasn't one answer. It was more like three. And I got it to the point where I've got a really good technique for using decoys.
I like to put my hens facing me in the blind.
Absolutely.
Am I doing it right or doing it wrong?
You are. And I will normally use 2 hen decoys. I don't always use the jake. That takes a special circumstance. But I will always use 2 hen decoys, and I'll spread them out. I'll put one to my left front facing me 20 yards away, one to my right front facing me 20 yards away. And you've created a 20-yard by 20-yard by 20-yard triangle between the 3. And you're the pivot point of that V. And no matter what direction that gobbler comes in on, if he comes in off one of your flanks, he'll see one of your hens. And in his mind, she's walking away from him. And he feels like he has to get out in front of her to show off. He hasn't made the eye contact yet. Whereas if you had the decoy turn the other way, when he sees her and he's made the eye contact, he thinks she's walking toward him. So that's why he puts on the brakes and struts and shows off while he's out of gun range, because in nature, they would close a distance with one another. And when he sees her and she's not closing the distance, he gets suspicious. So you want the tail to be facing him, the direction you think the gobbler is going to come from. That way he thinks he's got to get out in front of that decoy to show off, and which brings him into gun range.
Excellent advice from Greg Abbas of A-Way Outdoors. We've got to take a break here. When we come back, Greg's going to talk a little turkey, demonstrate some different types of calls for us. If you'd like to learn more about Greg, his company, his invention consulting business, check out the website, awayhunting.com. That's awayhunting.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, continue our conversation with Greg Abbas, master turkey hunter extraordinaire, right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Battle Creek on WBCK 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY AM and FM, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. And you can hear us in Ishpeming on WIAN, 1240 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and your Mid-Michigan Tracker and Angler Quest headquarters. Looking forward to getting the Angler Quest in the water. Folks at Linwood Beach packed her away for the wintertime, so looking forward to things getting to a situation where I can deal with those guys and get the Angler Quest in the water. Listen, I'm a big fan of Linwood Beach Marina. Wonderful people, beautiful facilities, a great location. Check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com, linwoodbeachmarina.com. Anything you need to keep your boat on the water, Linwood Beach can help you out. linwoodbeachmarina.com. Right now we're talking with Greg Abbas of A-Way Outdoors, the website awayhunting.com, awayhunting.com. You know Greg. Greg, a very well-known turkey hunting, hunting expert in general, but specifically turkeys. That's how he kind of made his name in the first place. And Greg, you made an awful lot of turkey calls over the years. Why don't you demonstrate some of those and demonstrate to us what turkey calling sounds like?
Sure. I'm going to pick up our turkey trooper here. That's a little push-button call with a volume control on it. And I tell people, if I had to survive in the wilderness and take only one turkey call with me, it would be this one. And even though it's very simple to use, if you're a beginning turkey hunter, it's one you can pick up right now and hunt right now. It's that simple. You just push the button. This is a yelp of a hen turkey. This is the one you're probably going to do 80% of the time. That's telling the gobbler, I love you. This call can also make purrs, which is a feeding call, which when the gobbler reaches about 100 yards, I'm going to significantly lower the volume to make him believe I'm farther. And I want to give out a purr and make the gobbler believe that, yes, even though you don't see this hen, she's behind a tree somewhere feeding. And that settles him down and often will bring him into gun range. But it's so simple to do. I'm only moving one finger. It's not taking up both my hands. And when you consider getting turkey calls, you have to consider getting a long-range call and a mid to short-range call. I believe you need at least two calls. And each one excels in its proper range there. Box call I like for long range, or a slate or mouth call, but definitely the last 100 yards, mid to short range, this push button call will often seal a deal. This one is also able to make what I call a tree yelp. That's the hen turkey just waking up in the morning. It's usually 3 to 5 notes. I'll just let a gobbler know that I'm there before he flies down from the roost, and just to convince him that he needs to come in that direction when he does get down. So I'll give out a tree yelp. when birds are in the distance, let's say you've walked into your property or wherever you're hunting and you hear a gobbler in the distance, I like to give out cuts and yelps, and I'm going to demonstrate on a slate type of call here. This is a cut. It's a very excited sound of a hen turkey. It's the most excited sound she makes. That will get that gobbler gobbling and get them all fired up. I'll often sprinkle in some yelps with that, so it'll sound like this. And that'll fire him up. He'll gobble, and he'll start closing the distance. And I'll keep getting him fired up about every third gobble. I just want to keep him coming. And I'll tone it down. I'll still say the same cadence, the same notes, but I lower the volume a little. And again, once the gobbler reaches about 100 yards, 125, somewhere in there, I'll let that push button take over.
You talked about volume being important. You mentioned cadence a couple of times. The cadence, the frequency, the cadence that you demonstrated, that's what you like. That's what sounded good to you, correct?
Oh, yes.
Can we... Let me back up a step. You mentioned that it's easy to get a bird to gobble at you. Some days they'll gobble at anything. Getting them to come in is the hard part. If you call wrong, can you just turn them off right off the bat?
No, if you make a mistake in your call, maybe you're using a slate call and maybe the striker slips and you get a little squawk out of it. That's okay. Hen turkeys make mistakes too, and just don't stop on a mistake. Just keep calling, and he'll forgive you. If you call too loud, that's the one big no-no. That's where you could screw up and lose him and not recover. It's
interesting you put it that way, too, because I've been sitting in a blind before and heard a call, and I thought, oh, my gosh. For one thing, I thought I was the only hunter in here. How did a hunter get in here? But number two, that person does not know how to call birds at all. And 2 minutes later, I find out it's a real hen going to walk by me.
I've done that. I went to kick off the trespasser and I scared the flock of turkeys away.
She sounded terrible. Nobody taught her how to call.
I know it. A turkey would not win a turkey calling contest. Believe it or not.
Oh. Well, what calling judges want to hear is not necessarily what a gobbler wants to hear.
And he's the ultimate judge. When you're on stage and you're trying to win a trophy or a gun, you know what? You got to be perfect in your sounds, not make mistakes. But to a turkey, I think hitting the right notes, knowing what to say and when to say it is most important. When you're trying to win a turkey, it is different calling. The nice thing about you practicing over the winter or when you're cooped up is you get more efficient at your calling, and you're liable to make less mistakes when you're trying to win the gobbler. So that's where I think the practice is really good this time of year.
Greg, I know you've talked several times about finding the roost, where the birds spend the night. How close do you set up in the morning on that roost?
About 100 yards away. And I want to be in the direction that they like to travel when they get off the roost, which requires a little scouting. But that little tidbit there, if you go out in the woods and find where they're roosting and what direction they go when they get off the roost, I'm going to put your success rate, if you're a decent shot, at 95% of getting that bird.
I'll take 95% anytime.
Successful guiding on public land was I always knew where they roosted in the early part of the season. I knew where their high-pressure roosts were, but I would always scout them out. And every year you go back, it's going to be the same routine. As long as you don't get too close to the roost and bump them, they're going to be coming there every year.
So unless an area floods or they cut down the trees or something, those birds like that spot for a reason.
They do, absolutely. It's either provides weather protection or predator protection. They definitely pick them spots for a reason. Turkeys don't roost randomly in most cases. Not only do they have their favorite tree, they have their favorite branch on that tree. When you find a roost, you're liable to find a pile of droppings underneath it.
You are the first guy who ever talked to me about dusting bowls. I find that fascinating, and I've had some luck with it. Tell us more about that.
Oh, boy, that's my favorite technique for hunting late morning and early afternoon. So let's say things didn't work out at the roost. Instead of going home and getting caught up on your sleep, find the dusting bowls. And you're going to find them just off to the sides of the two-track roads, the backwoods roads. And wherever there's sand and turkeys, you're going to find some dusting bowls or even old fire pits on public land. And they're going to go there in late morning and early afternoon, usually every day. And if you're a patient enough hunter, you could set up 20, 30 yards away from that dusting bowl. I even like to put a hen decoy in there and just give out some soft talk. Just some soft yelps and purrs. And put the call down for about 20 minutes and just keep your eyes peeled. The later it gets in the day or more toward the hotter part of the day, they're not going to talk as much. They're liable to sneak in on you. But they go to these dusting bowls every day. And if you're a patient enough hunter, you will kill a bird over a dusting bowl.
Just a matter of waiting them out.
It is.
Do you ever use a gobble call?
No. Every hunter in the woods is listening for one. And like I say, most of my guiding has been done on public land. But even on my private land now, no, I don't. It's like throwing in the kitchen sink. If nothing else has worked, I've tried them in the past, and I think in my 20 years I got one gobbler, Jake actually, to come into a gobble call or a group of Jakes. So I guess it could happen, but number one is a safety factor if you're on public land. Like I say, every hunter in the woods is listening for a gobble. And
that makes sense.
I'm not a big fan of them.
Are you guiding at all these days, Greg?
No, just family members.
So these days,
not professionally anymore.
So these days, your time is taken up on your invention consulting business.
Oh, that's all I do now. Yeah, I really enjoy it, and the nice thing is it's everything can be done from the computer and fax machine, and it's not a hard process. It's not an expensive process, and if you've got a hunting idea, now is an excellent time. The hunting companies are looking for the new stuff now, so it's a good time to get the process started.
And you have helped a lot of people over the years take these concepts to market.
We have.
Or for sale to another company.
Well, both. And the majority of the people wish to work like a royalty deal or sell their idea outright. But there's some that start up their companies, and we've done both. I've even helped hunting companies expand their business. So, but the majority of my inventors wish to work a deal with a company for their idea. And honestly, that's the most cost-effective way to go. And I usually recommend, if you're on the fence of doing that or going into business for yourself, knock on the doors to the companies first and see if we could get a bite from them, because it's pretty expensive to go into business for yourself. It's not just as easy as developing a product and putting a price tag on it. Not at all.
Well, how cool would that be for a guy who has an idea it's been mulling over in his brain forever, and then eventually to see it on the store shelves under the name of some big company? Very rewarding.
Oh, it happens. Yeah, we get those deals.
Greg, always a pleasure. I would encourage people to go to the website, awayhunting.com. There you can learn more about Greg's invention consulting business as well. Greg, appreciate your time. Good luck in the woods, and be safe.
Yeah, you too, Mike. God bless.
All right. Greg Abbas of A-Way Outdoors, awayhunting.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, this week's Ask Avery segment with Ed Golder of the DNR. Lots of questions for Ed, and we will ask them after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Houghton Lake on the Twister 92.1 WTWS and 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Port Huron, WPHM 1380 AM, and north of the bridge in Newberry, WNBY 1450 AM. The Ask Avery segment, the Ask Avery segment is brought to you by Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org, securitycu.org. The way the Ask Avery segment works is you can ask me a question directly, or you can ask questions of me that I can pose to somebody else. This time around, that's the way we're going to do it with Ed Golder of the DNR. He is their public information officer. Ed, I appreciate your time. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Good to be here.
Always a pleasure. A couple of questions I want to get off the bat here. Adam Bigelow says he took the day off work to get the kids out of the house. Is it okay for him to take the kids fishing? He doesn't want to get into trouble, but, man, they need a break from the house. What's the answer?
Man, I can understand that. So the governor's executive order actually makes explicit exception for people doing outdoor activities, and fishing and hunting are among those that are okay for people to do. Of course, all the social distancing guidelines apply, right? People still need to stay 6 feet away from each other outside their family groups, the order says, and be mindful that they're not transmitting the virus. But that order allows people to engage in outdoor activity, including walking, hiking, running, cycling, or any other recreational activity consistent with remaining at least 6 feet from people outside the individual's household.
So you could go fishing with your buddies as long as you stayed 6 feet apart?
Yep.
Okay.
You sure could.
What about boat launches? Are the state's launches, the DNR launches, open?
Yes. Our state launches, our state parks, recreation areas remain open for the public at this time. All of our modern restrooms are closed at those facilities. Vault toilets are available, or where they're available, remain open. In state parks, Mike, we've waived the recreation passport requirement, so there's no fee to get into state parks. So people are welcome to continue to do those things. Camping is temporarily suspended at state parks while we work through this and figure out what's next.
And I notice you said at this time, because this is still a fluid situation. I mean, we're recording this on Wednesday. By the time people hear the show on the weekend, in theory, it could change.
Absolutely. I appreciate that warning to folks. This has been changing daily. Certainly things changed a great deal on Monday when the governor issued her stay-at-home order, and you and we and all of us kind of had to adjust to that. So I'd urge people to go to michigan.gov/DNR. We've got a button right on that page that says COVID-19 information. Go there and get the latest.
Another question, this one from Nate Willard. He says he can't find anything in particular pertaining to fishing licenses. With them expiring the 31st, a lot of local stores where they're being sold are closed. Can he get them online? I know the system was down. And is there any other way to get them than online right now, Ed?
Yeah, the online system is working. It may be slowed a little bit because a lot of people are using it, but it is working. So you can continue to buy online. You can also continue to buy at those stores that remain open, Mike. So, those Meijer stores are still open, considered critical services under the governor's executive order because they sell food. Walmart stores are open. Gas stations are open. A number of other stores that typically sell hunting and fishing licenses are open. So you can use any one of those routes. Again, michigan.gov/DNR can get you to hunting and fishing license sales.
So how has this affected the department? Obviously, your conservation officers still have to be out there, but it's got to, everything is shut down for you guys as well as everybody else right now.
Yeah, certainly our conservation officers are still out in the field every day. They're among the first responders. They're a critical part of that rural law enforcement network, as you know. And we're still, keeping a lot of folks in our state parks as well to help manage those areas and remind people that social distancing is required. But you're right, a lot of our other operations are shut down. Our outdoor adventure center, our customer service centers, all those areas that are not critical under the governor's executive order have closed down. So we're adjusting like everybody else. I'm working from home today, and I'm going to continue to do that until we hear otherwise.
But the good news, Ed, is we can still go hunting or fishing, and what better way to get through this than being on the water or in the woods?
I think it's essential to physical and mental health to be outdoors, Mike. And so, to the extent that you're observing those important precautions about social distancing, I encourage people to do it. I'm trying to get outdoors every day. Otherwise, I'm going to go stir crazy.
Stir crazy, absolutely. Anything else we need to cover, Ed?
No, I really appreciate it. I hope you and your listeners stay healthy.
And we wish you the same. Ed Golder of the DNR, michigan.gov/DNR, michigan.gov/DNR. And again, a thank you to the folks from Security Credit Union for making the Ask Avery segment possible. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. One of the things we can do right now is to go hunting or fishing. Let's take advantage of it. The state's DNR boat launches are open despite people saying, oh, no, they're closed. Well, just because a dock isn't in the water yet doesn't mean the facility is closed. Right? We'll take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, I want to talk with Carl Wydner of the Wydner Insurance Group with, a lot of people in the outdoor industry and outdoor-related businesses being affected by the situation right now. Is there any recourse? Charter captains, marina operators, can they do anything to help themselves? We'll check in with Carl after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Sandusky and WMIC. That's 660 AM. You can hear us in Muskegon on WKBZ 1090 AM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette on WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reeder Landscaping. Reeder can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Right now, the folks from Reeder are... they're just like the rest of us. Since they can't really work from home, they're not out on the lawns and the property, but I've been assured by those guys as soon as they can get back to work, they will. So now is the time to start planning your summertime projects and see if you can get the folks from Reeder to take care of your lawn. Check them out online at reederlandscaping.com. That's reederlandscaping.com. Speaking of being affected, impacted by the situation right now, a lot of people in the outdoor industry are. You've got charter captains who are canceling trips. You've got resort owners who are losing bookings. You got hotel owners. You got a myriad of things. Carl Wydner of the Wydner Insurance Group in Midland. His family has been in the insurance group for a long, long time. And Carl, I got to believe you're seeing a lot of questions related to this right now, aren't you?
Yes, we are. So, quite a few small business owners, actually any size business owner or outdoorsman is asking, what's going on? Do I have any insurance coverage? What can I do?
And at this point, if you don't have it, it's probably too late to address it, or no?
Unfortunately, I don't have the best news because as of right now, to have the coronavirus covered for a canceled trip or something like that, you have to have bodily injury or property damage, and just the government shutting us down is not a covered peril on insurance policies. So there's a lot of bad news I'm having to pass on to a lot of people out there.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it's falling on your shoulders to pass it along, but you're just passing along the situation as it is. There's nothing that can be done about it.
Correct. Yeah, there's not a policy that I could sell just for the government shutting you down because of a potential threat.
I wonder.
So, there's a lot of people hurting.
Absolutely. So listen, let's talk about something we can do that's proactive during this time then. Since a lot of people have some time on their hands right now, you in the past have told me that it's a good idea to take an inventory of your hunting and fishing equipment. What a great time right now when you've got some time to do that.
Absolutely, yes, because a lot of us forget how many, toys we have. So it'd be a great time to take some pictures of them, write down the serial numbers, and talk to your insurance agent to make sure they're covered properly. Because a lot of times, you need to schedule it, which means actually list it on your insurance policy to have the proper coverage.
Why is that, Carl? Why would I have to schedule something as small as a fishing rod or a bigger thing like a shotgun?
It would be more like if you had several very expensive fishing rods or guns, because a lot of policies, and every policy is a little bit different, you have limited amount of coverage for theft of guns. So if you're one of those hunters with tens of thousands of dollars of guns, or even 10 guns, it's better to have it covered so you can, if you had a bunch in a safe and somehow they were able to get into your safe or in your car, to get the proper coverage and to be covered, you need to schedule it on your policy or list it.
Well, Carl, I've told my wife, Denise, that none of my hunting and fishing gear was actually expensive. So let's just keep it that way, okay? Between us?
Yes, between you and I.
And what about now that people are getting the boats back out, they're getting out on the water, what about insurance concerns from that perspective?
Well, you just want to make sure that you talk to your insurance agent and your boat is scheduled or listed on an insurance policy to make sure you have the proper coverage for if anything were to happen to it.
So is there a liability and property? Are there two aspects to that coverage?
Yeah, I mean, there's the liability. So, you don't see someone swimming and then you accidentally hit them. So that's the liability portion of a watercraft policy. And then the property is if something were to happen, it falls off your trailer, you hit a stump, anything like that might cause physical damage to the boat needs to be you would need to list your boat and a value of the boat. So it's also a good idea to review the value you have of your boat on the policy, make sure it's adequate.
As an insurance agent, I get the feeling that you're driving around and you're not, I don't want to say you're looking for worst case scenarios, but you look at the world through a different light. You're like, okay, where could this be a problem? Where could this be a problem? And that type of thing.
Right, exactly. So, unfortunately, my job is kind of think of what bad things can happen and make sure that you have there's no surprises, that you have proper coverage if something does bad happen to an outdoors person.
And how are you guys at Wydner doing through all this, Carl?
It's trying times, but we're working through it. Our staff's fully up and functioning. Much of our staff's working from home remotely, but they're all hooked up with their phones and computers. And so you call us, and we'll get right back to you and make sure we can take care of you.
Well, Carl, I hope you get a chance to take a little bit of break and go out and do some fishing.
I would love to.
But you can't commit to. You'd say you'd love to, but you can't commit to. I understand that. Carl, appreciate your time. I'll send people to the website, Wydner.com. That's Wydner.com. Carl Wydner from the Wydner Insurance Group in Midland. I trust Wydner. They do all of my work. I've worked with them for many, many years. Great people, a great family. And they will do a good job for you. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, let's talk a little southern Michigan coho fishing with Brad Dupuis of Angler Quest. And, of course, we'll wrap up the hour with wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner. That's coming up in the third and final hour of this week's Outdoor Magazine show. If you want to get in touch with me, send me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com and check out the website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Wydner Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Yes, indeed. This is the big guy, Mike Avery, and welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. So glad to have you along with us. So much going on in the world right now. So much negative news, so much bad news, so much worry, so much concern, so much doubt. One thing we do know we can do. We can go hunting and we can go fishing. What better way to refresh yourself mentally and physically than to head out on the water or head for the woods? So I'm glad we've got that going for us. I am anxious to get the Angler Quest out and get it out on Saginaw Bay to do some walleye fishing. But we recorded an Angler Quest podcast last week with a guy named Mike Schoonveld, Captain Mike Schoonveld, and he was telling me about the phenomenal Southern Lake, Michigan early season trolling fishery there for salmon and trout, especially coho. And he said, your buddy Brad Dupuy at AnglerQuest, he said he knows this as well as anybody. So I twisted Brad's arm, because he doesn't like to talk fishing at all. I twisted Brad's arm to get him on the show and talk about that and more. Brad Dupuy, welcome back to the show.
How you doing, Mike? And talking fishing, boy, we could put a long show together talking fishing, Mike. No problem.
Oh, I know it. But you love fishing. Even before you got involved with AnglerQuest, you're a hardcore angler. You just love it, don't you?
Oh, I absolutely do. I've been fishing since I've been just a little boy, and I had a tenure in my life where I did a ton of steelhead fishing on the streams. Still like to do it. Don't get out as much as I would like. Been fishing Saginaw Bay since the early 90s. Been out there doing hardcore angling forever, and to be able to be a part of AnglerQuest and get that boat out there in Polar Craft now, it's really cool because it really fits in with what I do and what I need to do to help promote the product. And then I'm out fishing, testing as well, Mike. So it's good stuff.
Well, and for people who don't know, I mean, you are the guy who designed that very first AnglerQuest, came up with the concept of a big water triple tube fishing machine. You are the guy, along with everybody at Apex, but you're like the project manager of all these improvements and modifications and stuff. I mean, AnglerQuest is your baby.
Yeah, it absolutely is my baby. And I have a lot of passion towards it, and I have a lot of passion not only just because it's my baby, but I'm a true believer, and they are absolute fishing machines. We can put a spread out on that boat and be as successful on an AnglerQuest as in any boat, and the comfort level, the fishability, the stability. There's just so many things that are such an advantage. I always take the advantage to fish on one and to talk about it because it's an awesome experience. And man, am I chomping at the bit to get out there on one now, Mike.
I was just going to ask you that. I mean, with everything going on, have you had the opportunity to get out, or does the business side of things have you pretty close to home right now?
Well, right now I am pretty close to home with everything up in the air. I was scheduled to go down to Lower Lake, Michigan this week. That has been delayed a little bit. I'm targeting either Friday or early next week. I'm not going to let it keep me from doing it. It's such fantastic fishing that I am going to get down there. Probably not for a 3-4 day run at a time, but with everything happening, I think it's important to be home. Try to understand everything that's happening in our world, and I'm not willing to just drop all that stuff and let the coronavirus keep me from doing the things I love. And after all, it's endorsed by the Michigan DNR to get out there and fish, keep your social distancing, and pretty tough to beat that for the mind when you're out on the water catching lots of fish, Mike.
There you go. It's been several years since I've been down to take advantage of that early season fishery on the southern part of the lake there, but it's unlike anything. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it before. On a good day, it's phenomenal, isn't it?
It is. It is absolutely phenomenal. It's a very close to shore fishery. It's in the very southern lake, Michigan City, Hammond, Indiana, by all the steel mills down there. I think every coho in the whole lake is down there. And I'll tell you, when you get on the fish, triples, quads are standard protocol. And last year, Roger Neeson and myself were down there. Roger's the sales manager for AnglerQuest and Polar Craft Boats, and we told ourselves we're going to bring our spinning gear this year, and we get on a good school, we're going to shut her down, and we're going to cast for them. Something a little different. It's such a great fishery that you have your limit so quick. We would like to kind of take a little different approach and try to fish them a little differently and experience it a little more one-on-one with lighter tackle. And like Captain Mike Schoonfeld, I'm sure, said on the podcast, the fishing is just absolutely phenomenal. It's very high in the water column fishing, close to shore, and boy, are they schooled up, and they are just ready to feed, I'll tell you.
So what would you do? Throw spinners at those fish? Throw spoons?
I think what I would use the exact same thing that we're trolling with. We're using thin fins and Brad's fins, which are just a lipless, shallow water crankbait, and they have a fair amount of weight. So I think with 8 pound on, I think you could really wing those babies out there. So I think I would start with the same thing. A spoon may be a good route just to have the ability to cast even further. I'm sure they would bite it, especially if it's got orange on it. Those cohos are so orange and red oriented, even later in the year when they're up north. Orange dodgers and green flies are a very common tactic for deep water column cohos up north, Manistee, Frankfurt, once they start getting up into Platte Bay. So I think I would start with a thin fin, just like what we're trolling. And if I can't quite get the distance, I'd probably put a small spoon with a little bit of thickness to it that's got some orange on it, and let that baby fly and bring her back in an aggressive manner.
Boy, that that's going to catch fish. That sounds like a riot.
That it would be awesome, because those fish, I would like to tell you that we could sit there and troll, catch them and release them successfully, but they certainly will swim away. But I'll tell you, when those fish are netted, they are so green, so fragile, they lose a lot of their scales. I think it's just irresponsible as a fisherman to catch those with that kind of tackle and let them go. And you get your limit so quick, it's like, you've hit your daily bag limit. So for us, we want to stay on them a little longer, do something a little different. I think we could unhook them, keep them right in the water successfully, and unhook them without harming them, and by using, the spinning tackle, and not to mention light tackle. It would be awesome to have a school of coho, and I think those school of cohos aren't 10 or 20. I think they're hundreds and hundreds, if not more. So I think it'd be quite a riot, and we're going to try that when we're down there.
That does sound like fun. Are they for the most part coho? Do you see any young kings, any steelhead, browns, Lakers, anything else?
Yeah, you do catch an occasional brown. Last year when we were down there, we caught probably an 8 pound male steelhead. He was pretty colored up, like he was either in the river or getting ready to be in the river. You'll occasionally get a king. Typically the kings aren't up on the surface like what the cohos are. Typically they're either a dipsy with 35 feet of line out or a downrigger 25 down. Something of that nature is generally what'll take a king. But I also believe when you troll through those schools, those fish are so active, those coho, I don't think a king has an opportunity to even bite it. I think those coho are like piranhas down there and absolute feeding machines. And I'll tell you, they may not be the largest fished in the Great Lakes, but those little 2-3 pounders, the edibility, the table fare, oh boy, they are tough to beat, Mike.
We used to see a lot bigger coho up north out of, say, Frankfurt and such. Do you ever run into fish that size? Are they all these little 2-pound cookie cutters?
They are generally smaller cookie cutter fish. You'll occasionally get a 5 pounder down there, which is a really nice one in the spring. Those same fish are migrating for the most part, up to Platte Bay and the areas that they're planted. And by the time they get up to Frankfurt, those 2 pounders, they're going to be, depending on the year and the forage base, they're going to be 6 to 8 pounders, no problem. Sometimes 10, 12 pounders, depending on the year and what kind of food they have available to them. So they grow. They're just such aggressive feeders, and they have that feed bag on all spring and summer. And as a result, they get quite a bit bigger by the time they're ready to run the river for spawning season.
And if I was going to eat something other than a perch or walleye, it would be a spring coho. What a great fish.
Oh, geez, they are. Their meat is just a bright, beautiful orange. Absolutely awesome fish to eat. Arguably our most edible salmon in the Great Lakes. I haven't eaten any Atlantics. I hear they're very good, but boy, those spring cohos are tough to beat, Mike.
We're talking with Brad Dupuis of Angler Quest Boats, the website anglerquestpontoons.com, AnglerQuest, QWEST, anglerquestpontoons.com. We're talking about early season trolling, primarily on southern Lake Michigan for these kamikaze coho that are going crazy down there right now. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Maybe turn our attention to upcoming Saginaw Bay walleye fishing. We'll see how things are going at Angler Quest and also see how the Polar Craft acquisition is going as well. After the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Holland on WHTC AM and FM, 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. You can hear us in Ludington on News 97.98, 98.7 WLDN. And you can hear us in Mount Pleasant on WMMI AM and FM, 830 AM, 92.3 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Great Lakes Charter Training. If you've ever wanted to be a licensed captain, I think this is your best option. This is the class that I took with Captain Mel Stackpool. It was actually given by Captain John Littlefield. Really enjoyed the class. Allowed me to pass the Coast Guard exam first time around. My paperwork is into the Coast Guard right now. I submitted it electronically, but I've got a feeling that with everything going on, it's going to be a long time before I see my captain's license. Regardless, I could not have gone through this process and been successful without Great Lakes Charter Training. I strongly recommend it if you want to be a licensed captain for a charter boat, charter fishing, an excursion, dive boat, sailing, whatever. You need to be licensed, and I think Great Lakes Training is the way to go. GLCtraining.com is the website, GLCtraining.com, and tell them that Mike Avery suggested you get in touch with him. Right now we're talking fishing, continuing our fishing theme with Brad Dupuis of Angler Quest Boats, talking about southern Lake Michigan coho fishing primarily. But Brad, I got to ask you, as long as we got you on the phone, how are things going there at the plant? Are you able to make any boats at all right now, or are you just shut right down?
We are not building any boats right now. We have a very, very skeleton crew, more calling it essential employees for our infrastructure of our business that we are having do some things. We have some people working at home engineering-wise, very, very limited people, but for the most part, we are shut right down. We are not considered essential business.
Now, that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong, in my opinion.
Well, you know, I have heard that some of the marinas are considered essential because of the outdoor activity. And we were hoping that we would fall under that umbrella, in my opinion, and yours as well, I'm sure. Absolutely essential. So, however, I don't think our governor sees it that way, at least at this point. So we are, for the most part, shut down. We had to discontinue operations, I believe, midnight, Monday night. We're doing the best we can. It was unfortunate because we have got a lot of boats to build. However, we all understand the health and safety issues that are going on, and we're anxious to get back up and running and filling orders for people and getting boats out there so that they can enjoy their outdoor activities. So
and of course, we're
chomping at the bit.
This isn't just you guys at Apex. The entire marine industry has been temporarily shut down. I would think there's going to be a tremendous demand for your products when things get up and rolling again.
Absolutely. Pretty much all the surrounding states are shut down, if not 2 weeks. Everybody is building, for the most part, we're building sold boats that are products of shows and are sold product, and it's absolutely going to put a time crunch to things and be harder for us to reproduce. And our whole supply chain is pretty much shut right down. So even if we were able to build, unless they're up creating the raw materials, keeping us supplied, we're not going to be able to build anyway. So we're looking forward to getting through this. I'm looking forward to getting out and doing some fishing here. It gives me also the opportunity to kind of tie up some loose ends, get ahead of the game on some development stuff. So taking the opportunity to do that, but it's a unfortunate thing. We're just ready to go at a moment's notice as soon as we're able.
And I realize you can't talk too much about this, but Any big changes coming to AnglerQuest? Do you see you guys making dual outboards, bigger boats? I mean, that's the demand these days, right? Bigger boats, more horsepower, and you guys have been able to address that in large degree. But there's got to be a sweet spot here. Too much is too much sometimes, I would think.
Yeah, and also when you start talking the really big dollar boats, start talking dual engine boats with 200-300s, they also are putting you up in a price range that if something does happen economically, a lot of times that stuff is the first to go.
Yeah.
We do get requests for dual engines. We get a lot of different requests. For the most part, Mike, we're looking to keep refining the product as we see it now. We keep making changes, and we're going to continue. We'll have some things that'll be, oh, wow, that's cool. There's no doubt about that. But for the most part, we're not doing anything radical, especially now with 3 weeks taken out of our schedule. We have to concentrate on building boats, and to be able to fit prototypes and things like that in are going to be a little tougher to do, just because it'll be hard to schedule them with the demand of getting the sold boats out.
Now that Polarcraft is under the umbrella of Apex, it's a sister company of AnglerQuest. You've had some time now to see how this is shaking out. I see nothing but excitement. People are very, very happy. It looks like a great partnership, at least from the outside, Brad.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. Polarcraft has a synergy very similar to what we do in Quest and AnglerQuest as well. It's a quality boat, a well-finished boat. The hull is a great design. One of the best, if not the best, riveted DV hulls out there. And we have a ton of development to do with those boats as well. It's a quite a bit simpler development versus coming up with a radical hull, radical design that is something that's so out of the box that everybody would be mesmerized by. But for us, it's simpler things at Polarcraft. We have a lot of productionism things that we need improving. We need a lot of jigging and a lot of fixturing, a lot of things to help improve the quality of those boats and the consistency of the boats, along with basic developments of, more tackle storage, cup holders, longer rod storage, and things of that nature. So that's what we're really focusing on. We've actually been doing really well. We're getting more and more sales as things go on here. When the company was first acquired, we were kind of behind the 8 ball because it was so late in the year. So our dealer show was late September. We missed a little bit of the window for dealer stocking programs. So those sales have been getting better and better, and we're pretty excited about it. And we're looking forward to continuing that product development-wise, volume-wise, and everything across the board, Mike.
Now, those are made down in Indiana, aren't they?
Correct. They are in Syracuse, Indiana, probably 3.25 hours from the plant here in St. Louis.
But again, a company that has quite a history of making good quality boats for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of Polarcraft owners out there. There's been several different owners of the company. It's a very well-respected product out there. The Polarcraft owners group, in a closed group within Facebook, just gets tons of images and people posting up pics of their boats and their catches. So there is definitely a really good crew of Polarcraft owners out there, and we look to improve that and to get more and more of them in Polarcrafts.
Brad, when you get this Southern Lake Michigan coho fishing out of your system, if there is such a thing, I got a feeling you're going to be looking at your beloved Saginaw Bay pretty soon. When you get out there, I mean, you're very well known for running spoons and lead core. You won't start that right away, will you?
I will not. I'll be running deep diving husky jerks, bandits to get rolling. There's that little time frame kind of body bait to spoon time frame. I'll start with husky jerks, deep diving husky jerks, bandits, probably evolve to flicker shads, and then generally it's water temperature dependent. But I'll go over to spoons. Depends on the year, but I would guess mid to late May. is when I'll go to them. And once I go to them, I will be full bore, lead core, dredging the bottom, you name it. I like my spoons, and I'll be chomping at the bit to get them into the mix for the Saginaw Bay program, for sure.
And like me, I have a feeling there will never be a night crawler on your Angler Quest either.
I have run some crawlers kind of in that real early season, after body bait season, of the worm burner Dreamweaver.
Oh, yeah,
systems,
I've done that. I have to admit to that. Yep.
Outside of that, I'm a spoon and crankbait guy. I myself like to use crankbaits if I'm in, say, 13, 14 foot of water or less. Once I start evolving into getting out in deeper, start probing some of those deeper waters, I really go to spoons full bore between lead core and jets. That's what I like to run, and I look forward to doing it.
Well, you know me, I used to consider myself a skinny water guy, but those areas I used to fish that are 7 feet are now 10 feet. I mean, the things have changed out there, Brad.
They absolutely have. Our water table just keeps going up and up, and the areas that were great 15 years ago, there's definitely been evolutions. Fortunately, our bay is so laden with fish that we're figuring it out, and every year seems to bring a little different year. So, I suspect sailboat buoys, cigar areas are going to be great areas to start, even shallower this year with the water level being so high. It all depends on the weather. It depends on the rains we get, the weather. I would suspect we're going to be running spoons sooner than later this year with kind of the early break in the weather, but Mother Nature has a tendency of evening things out, that's for sure. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens, Mike.
What temp do you like for switching over to spoons?
I kind of like getting into the mid-upper 50s is what I like. I think sometimes we don't go to them soon enough because it seems like as soon as somebody tries them, they're on them,
Yeah.
A lot of times, though, too, the earlier season, the fish are a little shallower, hence, flicker shads, hot and tots, things like that. That flicker shad bite's a tough one to beat, for sure.
I got turned out of those. I love those things, yeah.
Yes, they do. They do work good. So I suspect I'll be into the flicker shads in early to mid-May, and once we get up in that mid-upper 50s, I'm ready to put spoons on. Who knows? Maybe earlier. Depends on the day.
All right, Brad, listen, I appreciate your time. I will look forward to being on the water with you when everything calms down and settles down, and I hope that you're back to building boats there at Apex Marine very, very soon. Appreciate your time, Brad. Thanks.
I appreciate it, Mike. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, Brad Dupuis of Angler Quest Boats, the website anglerquestpontoons.com, and Quest is QWEST, anglerquestpontoons.com. Don't forget to check out their Polarcraft boats as well. I think that's polarcraft.com. And their sister company, which we never talk about, Quest Pontoons, more of a recreational line. Angler Quest and Quest all built right here in Michigan. In fact, in the middle of the mitten in St. Louis, Michigan. We'll take a break. Lots more coming up. Don't go away right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Manistee on WMLQ. That's 97.7 FM. And you can hear us in Saginaw on our flagship stations, News Radio 790, WSGW, and WSGW-FM 100.5. I say flagship, as always, with no disrespect to any of our 29, probably soon to be 30 affiliates. I keep teasing Charlie with that. But I work very closely with the folks here. In fact, I'm in their studio right now. The studio is WSGW. However, when I'm here, this one particular studio becomes the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. This segment of Outdoor Magazine, by the way, brought to you by Wilds Plumbing and Heating. From plumbing, heating, air conditioning, sump pumps, cooling, cleaning ductwork, you name it. Everything to keep the mechanics of your house functioning smoothly, reliably, and give you the confidence and comfort that you need. The folks from Wilds can help you out. Check them out online at wildsplumbingandheating.com. That's wildsplumbingandheating.com. I always enjoy my conversations with Brad Dupuis of Angler Quest. Brad's become a good friend of mine. I have so much respect for him. I mean, to come up with this boat design and take it to where they have, with the fact that it's become so popular. It used to be, for years, people say, oh, you can't take a pontoon out on Saginaw Bay. Now you see those big, beautiful triple tube Angler Quest all over on Saginaw Bay. So congrats to Angler Quest on that. A couple other things I wanted to talk about here before we run out of time. If you weren't with us earlier in the show, we definitively answered the question, at least for now, as of whether or not hunting and fishing are allowed under the governor's edict, mandate, whatever you want to call it. Yes. As of Wednesday the 25th, which is when we are in the studio, and we always record the show a couple of days ahead of time, which is usually not a big deal, but with situations changing as fast as they are now, you never quite know. But for now, as of Wednesday the 25th, this outdoor recreation she's talking about, taking a walk or walking the dog or whatever. Yes, we can go hunting and fishing. And I would say take advantage of it. What better way to try to rejuvenate your mind and your body than get out and get some fresh air, get out in the water, get out in the woods. Also, right now, a couple of things to keep in mind, too. For example, if the kids are getting bored, and we know they are, and you can't get them into any kind of a hunter education class, hunter safety class, you can do those online. That'd be a great time to do that right now. I just did a couple of things online. I renewed my CPL, my concealed pistol license. State Police now has authority over that. This is the first time I've renewed that's been the case. It was a very seamless, very easy process. I appreciated that. I put the paperwork in for my charter captain's class online. Haven't heard anything back, and I expect I probably won't hear anything for a while now. I don't know what the status of that is going to be. I have been able to get out and do some shooting of my recurve, my Predator recurve, in preparation for turkey season. For the first time, I'm using a clicker, also called a cricket, is the brand name of clicker, the generic name, that makes a little bit of a noise, a little bit of a click when you get that bow to full draw. I put that on there possibly temporarily, just as a training aid, because my sense is when I was shooting, and I'd watch myself on video, and it didn't really look like it, but it felt like I wasn't getting a full draw. That I would get the string back to my mouth and let it go. Now that's the way it appears that Fred Bear shot, and he did pretty well with it, didn't he? But I'm not quite comfortable with that. I want to make sure I'm getting a good solid anchor point, and this clicker allows me to do that. And I find that it does force me to, you'd think that you would draw with your shoulder, but you don't. You draw with your back. And when you get to the last part of the draw, you kind of scrunch your shoulder blades together so you get full extension, then you let it go. And the clicker makes me do that because I get to full draw and I got to do just 1/8 of an inch more to, squeeze my shoulder blades together to get that good solid anchor, and boom, I can let the arrow go. So I think it's going to be it is a good training aid to teach me to get a better draw. Whether I will use it in the blind for turkey season or not, I don't know. I would think maybe for turkey season, yeah, I probably will. My goose barricade in the backyard is holding up nicely, thank you. I have an ongoing war with geese. I used to be indifferent to geese. I used to like geese. I love the sound of them. I love the fact that, it used to be you'd see them fly south in the fall and north again in the springtime. Then something happened where the geese became like seagulls and they became like flying rats. And we see them at every mall. We see them at every parking lot. And they just got to be such of a nuisance. And I didn't like them so much. And then we moved to a house that has a pond behind the house. And the first year there, we had a couple of geese, and it was cool, and it was neat. I enjoyed it. But then more and more geese started living there. More and more geese started raising their goslings there, and then they wanted to come up in the yard, and you know what that's like. And they just made a tremendous mess. So the last 2 years, I've been having an ongoing battle with geese. And because I live just inside the city limits, I have limited options. So I actually took a 3-foot snow fence. It's green, so it doesn't look too bad. 3-foot snow fence, put that up, and it seems to be working. I know the geese can fly over it, but so far they haven't figured that out. So I will keep you informed. But that battle seems to be going okay for now. We will take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner. Dave and his wife Terry are hunkered down at an undisclosed location somewhere in the North Country, and he says the view out his window is pretty nice. We'll talk with him after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. With everything that's going on in the world, isn't it nice to have a little bit of normalcy? The fact that we're here talking about the outdoors, same time every week, been doing so for years, will continue to do for years as long as, Lord willing. And also the fact that we can wrap up each week's show with wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner. Some things just continue on, and that's one of them. David, welcome back. How you doing?
Good. We got to eat. Corona-free at this point still.
Good. How
about
excellent.
yourself?
We're doing good.
Good.
Yeah, doing good. My daughter was a little under the weather here last week. In fact, she may actually have had it, but since she's in a low-risk age class, they didn't test her for it. But she's feeling better now, though. So we're doing good. We're doing good. Yep.
Tell her hi for me. I haven't talked to her in quite some time.
I will do that. And you guys are hunkered down up north, just kind of enjoying the beauty of Mother Nature.
We sure are. I don't know. I hope they let me. I was going to call somebody and see if I could go perch fishing and sit on a bank someplace in one of the cuts. I don't know if they're going to allow that or not.
Oh, they are. Oh. Absolutely. Yeah, that was a big topic of discussion. Absolutely. Hunting and fishing is not only allowed, it is encouraged. Absolutely.
Oh, great. That's all I wanted to hear. Now I can have some of this spare time put to good use.
Yeah. As long as you keep your social distance, I got to stay 6 feet from people not in your household, your immediate household.
Oh, great. Oh, cool. Thank you very much for that information.
Yeah, so you're good to go.
Glad I bought a fishing license.
And if you're going to go fishing, you better give us a fish recipe.
Well, I got a walleye and a philo dough. Now that we have a little more time on our hands, it's a little more complicated, but it's a great way to use some of the walleye that we have. And actually, you could use about any size walleye with this. You can eat about 8 ounces or 10 ounces of boneless, skinless fillet per person. I like to put leeks in this. So you're going to need a leek. This is for 4 portions, actually. So you're going to need 1 or 2 leeks. You want to split them down the middle, rinse them really good, and then you want to slice them up pretty small. Stalk of celery, medium, small, fine dice. Same thing with a small onion, dice it up fine. You want a package of the wild rice blend. That's a real nice way to go for this. I like to use about a half a teaspoon of your favorite spice, whether it's oregano or thyme or basil or tarragon or something. I like to use basil because I like that little sweetness. You need about a half a stick of butter, a little bit of salt, and fresh ground pepper to taste. You're going to need some dry breadcrumbs, maybe a half a cup, something like that. And one of these packages of philo dough, it comes in 16 sheets per package. So you're going to cut them in half after you defrost them out. And what you need to do, philo dough, you're going to moisten up a paper towel or a clean towel. As soon as you open these up out of the package that they're sealed up in, when you make your stack, you want to cover it with a damp towel. And then you're going to follow the box instructions on how to butter, layer the sheets with a little bit of breadcrumbs in each. So with a small amount of butter, you want to saute the onions, the leek, the celery, and the spice. And if you want to throw a little bit of garlic in this, by all means do if you like that. So you saute that up for just a minute, and then you're going to add the wild rice blend. You're going to stir this in with the butter, the vegetables, and all of that. And you want to have 1.5 times the amount of water as you do for the rice. You want to bring it to a boil and reduce the heat down to a simmer. Cover it. You can stir it occasionally and, kind of gently cook until almost all of the water is absorbed, because the wild rice takes quite some time. It could take up to 30 minutes or 35 minutes to actually make it nice and tender. This is going to go in the oven for a while, too, also. So, as I say, you're going to cut the phyllo dough in half and cover it immediately with a damp towel. So on your counter or wherever you're going to work, you want to take a stack of about, say, 4 of each of these sheets. Lay it out. So you're going to take the fish and you're going to cut that in half and lay it down. And then you're going to spoon this mixture on the side. You want to do it about 3/4 near the side you're going to work on, and lay the other piece of fish on top. So you got a little packet of fish. You got fish, vegetables, and rice, and another little bit on top. You're going to take melted butter, and after you take, like I said, follow the directions. You're going to butter the sheet, put a little bit of breadcrumbs, another sheet, more butter, so on and so forth until you get it done. So now you got this packet. Gets all buttered up, put the fish on it, and start to roll it and fold it. And so when you get all done rolling and folding, tuck the inside in, you're going to have the seam on the bottom. And so you're going to gently butter the baking sheet, and you bake it at about 375 until it's nice and golden brown. It might take, 20, 25 minutes. So it's going to look like a baklava almost, the dessert. And, you could use melted butter, tartar sauce, lemon to serve this with. It is so elegant. And if you want to make a sauce, you could take a little.
Wonderful. Well, it sounds wonderful. And your timing is perfect, Dave, because as you finished up the recipe, we ran out of time. So, no, we're doing good. Appreciate you being along with us, Dave.
Everybody be safe out there. Try to do what the government tells us. Let's try to knock this down as fast as possible. I'd like to get back to work.
I'd like to see you back to work, David. Wild game chef extraordinaire, Dave Miner, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show, as are you. I appreciate you listening. Hang in there. Check it. If you want to get in touch with me during the week, MikeAveryOutdoors.com and Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And we'll talk with you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.